Hi, everybody. Welcome to, I'm looking to make sure this is visible, funny form. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. It's Wednesday, May 18th, and I cannot even begin to verbalize. And that's one of your house guests there. I can't even begin to verbalize what this interview means to me with LAURIE ZALESKI, the author of Funny Form, because she is the founder, and I'll get the official title, the founder and the owner of Funny Form Rescue and Sanctuary in Mays Landing, New Jersey. And for those of you who don't know about this, this is a wow. It's beyond a wow, and I'm privileged to say that this coming Sunday, Leslie Stahl from CBS Sunday Morning is coming down to interview LAURIE about her Funny Form, and People Magazine just did a whole spread. It came out Monday on LAURIE and Funny Form, and the book, which we're going to talk about. And I've known LAURIE. I've known LAURIE now way over a quarter of a century. Even though the Funny Farm was born, but I've known LAURIE, and this is my monologue. I have to say this. I've known her 25, 30 years. I haven't figured it out. And when I first met her, she was working, I guess after school at the spectacle shop in Turnersville.
Yep.
And LAURIE is a very accomplished artist, and she's also she's the owner of Artsy Graphics Incorporated. She's this amazing, all the stuff she does with animals and rescue, and she's also this amazing artist. So that 25 or 30 years ago, I used her services because I was very environmentally aware, and LAURIE designed and created this global warming and earthhood. And I've saved this for 30 years.
I think I still have my shirt too, Calvin.
It might be worth something someday. So all of this energy, and of course I came down 5 or 6 years ago to see LAURIE at the Funny Farm, which was a rather poignant day for me to have spent that time and to see everything she's doing. So when all this came together, LAURIE was so gracious, because you work all day and then you come back to the Funny Farm, but to spend some time here to chat. So I've said my Johnny Carson monologue. So say hello, little quick bio, and then we're going to kind of jump into a lot of this, because this is beyond what you've accomplished, LAURIE. So take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Calvin, so much for having me. Yes, I've known Calvin since I was 16 years old, and I'm now 53. So yeah, he is an old dear friend. I shouldn't say an old dear friend. You've been a dear friend, but you've been around a long time. And I mentioned George, AKA the bank, in the book. Did you get that? You know, George was Calvin's very good friend as well. And he was the guy who kind of helped our family with finances whenever we needed money, because we were poor. I came from a very well-to-do family. My father was pretty heavy-handed and had a violent temper, and got more violent as time went on. And his eyes were always wandering, and my mom started asking him questions, and we had to leave because, you know, it was survival mode, and we moved into a shack in the woods. She started working odd jobs, one of them being working at an animal shelter, and she started bringing home animals, and we couldn't even take care of ourselves, let alone animals. And my mother said, as bad as we have it, always somebody has it worse, and we need to help these babies that can't help themselves. Hence, the Funny Farm started. It began in Turnersville, New Jersey. So we ended up with 35 animals. We were supposed to live there temporarily. We started out with no electric and no running water, and we wound up staying there for 28 years.
Wow.
But through my years as a girl, I remember saying to my mom, Mom, when I get older, I'm going to buy you a farm of your very own. And then in my late 20s, she was diagnosed with cancer and sadly passed away when I went to buy her the new farm, which I'm presently at.
So she got
to see it. She did get to see it though.
Okay, okay.
Get to see this place, and she's here. She haunts me a lot.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that.
In a good way, in a good way.
Yes, we talk about that someday.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and how I got here and how I became a farmer when, graphic artist, designer, photographer to farmer, and animal caretaker. I'm not really a farmer. I'm not really growing too many crops. I have a pretty brown thumb because my thumbs are always taking care of the critters.
In addition to your writing, to what you've done with Funny Farm and the 600, give or take, animals that you take care of, and you give them a life. In many cases, you nurture them back to health. In addition, and of course, to artsy graphics, and all of that. And this is the hardest thing for me to process. You're also a pilot.
Yes. When you read the book, you figure out how that happens.
Yeah.
Calvin and I were talking earlier, and I was afraid of heights. I was scared to death of heights. My mother had the worst taste in men out of anybody I know. She was my biggest superhero, but her taste in men was bad. So she went from my father and through a bunch of boyfriends to one that was considered like a father figure to me for a while. And he forced us all to go up in an airplane, and I was afraid of heights and I didn't want to fly. So he continued to take his cigarette out and his beer and said, fly the plane. And you're not allowed to have alcohol up in an airplane. And I was 10 or 11. And he forced me to fly because I thought he was going to crash the plane. So, and then I would ask stupid questions like, how high does this go? And he would go up. He said, hold my beer. And we would go up until the plane stalled. And then I came down and I was screaming and crying. And I said, I hate him, Mom. I'm never going up again. And next weekend, there I was. So it wound up getting into my blood, and I didn't get my license until he passed away. I would never give him the satisfaction to know that it got in there. So, but yeah, I have a little Cessna 150, a little tiny trainer plane that I can afford. And I try and fly every chance I get, which it's been a while. So, but I try and get up every month, at least if I can.
So cool. So cool. I will never join you in a plane. But
I don't think you would fit in my plane,
I
Calvin.
wouldn't,
Tall.
fit or not fit, I just don't.
Oh, you won't go up. Oh, I thought you said
No, I
want
don't-
to go up. Oh, I thought you said you did.
No, I can't even do a merry-go-round.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a bad thing with heights, which is kind of
Ah.
unusual. I'm 6'5", but it is what it is. So Laurie, why did you write the Funny Farm?
Why did I write the Funny Farm? So it was as a tribute to my mother. Like I said, she was the most inspirational person that I ever knew. She would never let us feel sorry for ourselves. You'll read the book and you'll laugh because we would cry over our lives and the hardships that we endured. And she would say, it's okay, keep crying. The more you cry, the less you pee. She would just never let us feel sorry for ourselves. And she said, you should be grateful for what you have, because so many, she would go through it. So many people have it worse. But when we came from a very well-to-do family, she was like a Stepford wife. And all of a sudden we're in this little house and she had just a living room as her bedroom, and she lived on a sofa. I mean, she never ever had a bed for 28 years that she lived there. And like I said, she came from riches and went to rags. So her love for animals, and she was such an inspirational woman. I wished more people got to know her, and I think now they do. They feel like they know her now.
Yeah.
And what she has accomplished. And because of her, this Funny Farm exists, because I've taken the reins, but she's the one who started this.
It's interesting. Life is part of the universe. It's part of destiny. And had she not necessarily worked at the animal shelter and brought home a few animals, maybe things would have gone in a different direction. But you were on a big patch of land down there.
Yeah, so I have 25 acres now. I originally purchased the 15, and it was a rundown farm. It was a rental. It was the only place I could afford. It was a very bad area. There were drug dealers out front. I mean, it was rough. But and everybody's like, what is this girl doing in the middle of the woods by herself with these animals? The neighbors couldn't. I didn't have immediate neighbors, but down the street they were all talking about me. And then slowly but surely, I was not a rescue. I worked at the Federal Aviation Administration, which I still do as a graphic designer and photographer. And they found out I had this piece of property and they started saying, hey, Laurie, can you help me? This animal needs a home or that animal needs a home. And slowly it grew to 100 and then to 200. And when my bills got to be about $4,000 a month for just feed, I went, okay, I make a good living, but I don't make that much. I can't afford the feed and my mortgage. So I became a nonprofit. And I was just doing it to get tax break on that food. But turned out people started wanting to come and visit and volunteer. And so it began.
Yeah. And I mean, I was there, not in the beginning, but I was there early enough to see.
Oh, it was earlier. Yes.
These things happening. So you got to tell people, how did Funny Farm come to, where did the name Funny Farm come from?
So the term Funny Farm, my mom called her old place the Funny Farm, and she always said it's fit for lunatics and full of animals. So, you know, the Funny Farm's like a crazy nut house for people. And, you know, we take a lot of disabled, unwanted, abused, neglected. So most of these animals would not have a life without the Funny Farm, without my mother, and now without the volunteers that are here and the Funny Farm. We have over 600 rescued animals, and they're over, it's not under 600, it's way over 600. And all these animals get along. The claim to fame that we have is that when you walk through the gates or drive in through the gates, the animals all just get along. And I always tell everybody, we could all learn something from them, especially in today's world. And I think that's why people are clinging to this book, because it has had such a reception that I never dreamt about, because I think people are looking for something good. And even though the book, just so you know, has ups and downs, I think it's equally heartbreaking as it is inspirational. At the end, you're going to leave fulfilled and inspired, I hope. And from what I'm hearing, that's what everybody's saying. And they're loving the book, and it's a fast read. People are reading it in a day or two. You're halfway through, right, Calvin?
Yeah, I'm halfway through. I just started a couple of days ago, and
you're a busy guy, so
well,
yeah,
I'm a busy guy. But I said this to you. It's a wonderful read. It's so the way you do it. You know, you've got your history and your bio, and then at the end of that,
yeah. So I was thinking about doing it a couple different ways, but some of the beginning chapters can be pretty heavy because we went through a lot. Yeah. So you kind of, I don't normally like if I'm watching a movie, I don't want it to go back and forth. I get confused. But this book, I felt like it needed a break, and there's happy animal tales about today of these animals in between the story of my life. And you're going to be happy for those breaks, because you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the great breaks. You know, those animal tales. And you know, going from the heaviness and the realities to Mr. Chicken, who you never heard from him again, did you?
I never heard from him again after he brought me a few chickens. So what Calvin's talking about, I can tell him this. It's not too big of a spoiler alert. I had a gentleman that he came and brought a chicken. The chicken looked like, he was just like, it looked like hell. I don't know if I could say that, but this chicken did not look good. And I was kind of curious as to where he got it from. And he was very sketchy. The guy was sketchy. He wouldn't tell me much. And then a couple of weeks, so I let him bring it there. And then he had another chicken, same thing. This chicken didn't look good, looked bad health. Finally, the third time he came, and I said, listen, I will take this chicken, but I need to know, where are these chickens coming from? Because to get one straight chicken, what's going on? Come to find out, he worked at a meat factory. Wow. And he was a security guard there. And if one of the meat chickens would get out, he felt like it was his job to rescue them to safety, because they already got past the first line of defense. So he would put them under his coat and take them out to his car. Wow. Since then, he's stopped eating chicken, and he did visit them a couple of times, but he stopped bringing, I don't know what happened, if he lost his job, but he stopped coming to the farm. But that guy really touched me, and I didn't even know him, but it really touched me because you could tell he really cared about those chickens.
So, and there must be endless stories like this.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things that, you know, my head is firing away. One of the things that touched me so much when I came down is you introduced me to that 45-year-old horse. And to me, that was, oh, wow. You know, the horse is living out a wonderful life.
Mhm.
And it's 45 years old.
Yeah.
And it's just so gratifying to see that and the caring. And the other, again, my head is firing. So you got over 600 animals there, and they're almost all named, and you know all their names.
Sure. It's like, would you not know your kid? People say, you know all their names. I'm like, would you not know your kids' names? I confuse them sometimes. I call them by the wrong name all the time, but I know their names.
Okay. And we should tell everybody, we were discussing this, that on Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock on Facebook, you have a Facebook
Live.
show. You're live
About
at the
5.
Funny Farm.
So you know how it started, Calvin? It started because of COVID.
Oh, you had to close.
They shut everybody down, including us, even though we were outside. So we said, okay, you know, we have to listen to what the governor says. So we shut down, and people blew up our Facebook and said, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is my happy place. How am I not going to get my fur fixed? And people were up in arms. So my social media guy, Matt Reeves, is brilliant. And he said, you know, why don't we do a Facebook Live? And I thought, okay, here we go. So we did. And everybody loved it. And it's a very happy,
That's great.
we are not that kind of rescue that shows all, you know, there's some people like when you watch the Sarah McLachlan commercial and you're ready to like, you know, off yourself. We're not that. We are the opposite. We're the Funny Farm. We don't concentrate on where these animals came from. We talk about where they are and where they're going and how they're going to live their best life here for the rest of their lives, happy and free, because they are pretty much free range here. Even at night, some of the cows, the big bulls have to be locked up, but at night they get loose. So we have done 108 episodes. We were going to stop once COVID let us back in again, you know, after 3 months, and people were like, no, because we have people from the UK, from Sweden, from Australia, from South Africa. It's amazing. So one of the things we say is, you know, I'm Laurie from the Funny Farm Rescue in Mays Landing, New Jersey. Please let us know where you're from. And it's so exciting to hear the different places that are tuning in because you feel like you're here. Yeah. So then when people, I had women from Texas last week that came, and I said, well, what brings you to New Jersey? And they said, the Funny Farm.
Wow.
And I said, so wait, you came just to see the Funny Farm? And they said, yes. I was so touched and tickled, and it kind of made me giggle because, you know, normally if they're coming to see their friends and then they happen to make a side trip, but they literally came to get their book signed and see the place because they had seen it on, you know, on these live videos, but seeing it in person is, it just, and they felt like they knew everybody. They knew all the animals. They were like superstars. I had one woman from Oregon. She would cry, oh my God, is that Farley? And she would see, you know, and get to pet them now and see them. So it's wonderful, the effect that these animals have on the people, because they've saved people's lives. Yeah. We've had Vietnam vets who said they didn't have a way to live until they, you know, they came to the farm, and it gave them a purpose.
We said this before we went on air. You know, you told me about CBS Sunday Morning coming down to see you, Leslie Stahl, and I laughed because I don't watch a lot of TV, almost none, only news stuff. But I've been watching for years and years CBS Sunday Morning at 9 a.m. and it goes to 10:30 a.m. But lately, for a long time, at 10 o'clock, my Facebook thing pops up, and there you are. So I have CBS Sunday Morning on, and the Funny Farm, and you. And you know, I watch a lot of stuff. You know, because I know you. Yeah. I just want to mention when these are some of the things that I remember that really touched me really emotionally. That when I did come down, I saw things that I'd never seen or even could have imagined. But you had a dog there that the dog had megaesophagus.
Right.
I never heard of that.
Yeah.
And you had this stall, but you brought him over to University of Pennsylvania Veterinary School to be treated, and then you brought him back there. And well, why don't you say?
So yeah, his name was Chuck. His name was Chuck, short for up Chuck. So it's mega esophagus, and what that is their esophagus is so large, and normally your esophagus squeezes the food and pushes it down to your stomach, just like a human. Theirs is so large that it moves, but it doesn't move enough. So in essence, the dogs starve to death. There is no operation. They can be on drugs to help, but there's nothing that anybody can do except feed them upright in like a high chair type situation. And then they have to eat blended food. So I call it like a puppy milkshake. And then they have to sit up and lap that milk, lap the milkshake up. And then it goes into their stomach by gravity in about 10 minutes. And they have to eat every 3 hours. And Chuck, they said, had the worst case of mega esophagus that they have ever seen. And they said he won't live 6 months, even with the chair. And that dog lived to be 5 years and a month and went up dying of a heart attack. Okay. He was always thin, but he had the best life ever. So I always say, nobody is promised tomorrow. We never know, if we're going to be here. So live each day to the fullest. And let's face it, dogs have a much shorter lifespan. 6 months is not terrible. At least they can have some quality of life for the time that they're here. And this dog lived to be 5 years. Wow. So I have 2 more now. I have Jesse and Tucker. Tucker is 4. He's a German Shepherd like Chuck. And Jesse is a black lab blue tick hound. And he's about 1.5 years. But both of them had the same diagnosis, 6 months. And they're both have kicked that. And they hardly ever up Chuck. So much different than Chucky that, they're keeping the food down. The thing that they worry about is if the dogs aspirate, that's what can kill them if they get, pneumonia. So that's what a lot of times you're up against. And I just did a podcast about the upright brigade. I spoke about mega esophagus. So if anybody has a mega esophagus dog, come on over, call me, and I will help you to work through it. Don't put your dogs down.
Okay. Wow. Something else I wanted, I kind of like to drift around. When you were a little girl, you stopped eating meat.
Yep.
And I remember reading, and I got a kick out of this when you guys were eating meat, Stephen and Kathy. You didn't, so you resorted to Hellman's mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise sandwiches. That's right.
Yeah, it helps to read. And I just wanted to make a comment about that lifestyle of not eating meat, because in 1965, before I knew you, I had made a commitment on a couple of levels, and I was a great meat eater. There's nothing like corned beef or steak or any of that stuff. But in 1975, it all came together for me. I had an epiphany, and because of humanitarian reasons, and because of environmental reasons, I stopped eating meat, and it changed the course of my life because I'm a healthy guy, and this thing up here functions. And I see you walking around and
letting my dogs out because they keep barking.
Oh, okay.
That's sorry. I'm going back.
And that leads me to my next question. Of course, you live in a lovely home on campus. So,
yes, I live. So try and tell that at a party. I live at the Funny Farm.
Yes, you live at the Funny Farm. So, question: how many? This is not personal, but how many animals live in your house with you?
Yeah, so I have quite a few. I have 10 dogs, 20 cats, a cockatoo, a blind baby sheep, and a chicken.
All living with you in the house.
All living with me. So you might hear the bird in a little bit because she's starting to make noises. She goes, hello, and trying to do Zoom calls. I worked from home, at the FA from my living room or my kitchen, and here's the animals in the background, or they're jumping up behind me and the chicken's getting on my shoulder. And it always makes for some fun, but it's hard to try and get peace and quiet when you're not letting a dog out or trying to keep somebody quiet. So yeah, so I did have a relationship, but the farm is not conducive to relationships. Yeah. And we joke about it in the People magazine. It said, the guy, I brought in a chicken. I said, well, she's going to wear a diaper. And he said, I am not living with a chicken. I'm like, well, there's the door. So.
Wow. Wow.
It's hard because
It's hard.
it's hard. My life is not my own anymore, and it's okay because it's for them. Nikki, now you can hear her yell, making her little bird noises.
So, and I'm not going to pursue this line of questioning, but living with all those animals and it's work. And my son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter, they live with us.
Mhm.
They're away actually for a week in Long Island, but they also have a Tibetan Terrier who we
Oh.
are the caretakers of.
Okay.
So, and I have to tell you, it's one of the, I can't explain it and verbalize, but we've gone, this has been a couple of years now, when we take care of the dog, and her name is Quinn, and she sleeps in our bed. And so we are two city dwellers suddenly thrust with this wonderful Tibetan Terrier and the love. Laurie, I'm just developing this as I'm talking to you. The love of an animal is wonderful.
Unconditional, I always say.
Correct. It is one of the most beautiful loves there is. It is, and at no point, especially on my wife's side, I'm pointing to her because she's a Brooklyn girl, and in no way in a billion years would she ever have conceived of having a dog lying in bed with her. But it happens, and what we've experienced the last couple of years, I would love to write an essay about it. The love of an animal for you and you for the animal. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway,
there's nothing like it. When I lost Chucky, it was right up there.
Yeah,
losing my mother, and it was the first time ever that I would get mad at people and they would say, I can't get another dog. It broke my heart. I lose animals all the time and I cry over every one. It doesn't get easier, but you have to go on and you have to help whoever you can. And when I lost Chuck, it was like losing a child to me. And for the first time in my life, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know that I could do it again. And then Tucker came and I couldn't say no. And let me tell you, it helps heal your heart. So you should always, I think, have an animal because it's not taking the place of another. It's helping you share that love because that love stays in there and it's trying to go to that dog and the dog's gone and it's different. It's a different love, but you need it.
Great love. No, it's a great love. By the way, I'm a kind of a health freak. I read so many articles on having, well, in particular a dog, a cat, something domestic like that. But it's one of the best heart remedies there is.
And it makes kids kinder children. I say every child should have to care for an animal, and it does. It makes them, studies have shown it makes them kinder.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, the whole kindness aspect. So so this is one huge undertaking with all these animals. How many volunteers do you have to help you do this?
So I have about 20 core volunteers. So I have people here every day. So for the first years of me doing this, I did it for 12 years alone. Oof. And then after I got to be 200, I'm like, I can't do this. And I had the job the whole time. So I would feed really early and really late, really early in the morning and really late at night. So then when we started getting volunteers, and it didn't happen overnight, Calvin, they'd be like, all right, I'm open. And I'm like nobody's coming. Nobody knows about us. No, it takes time. But over time, it snowballed. And now, we'll have 1,500 to 2,000 people on a Sunday. This past weekend, somebody asked me if we were having an event. And I said, no. Wow. So we have about 150 to 200 a year, but it's, they might come only a couple times a year. It might be a group, like a Girl Scout group, Atlantic City Electric. We do a lot of corporate volunteering. So you get to all come and you go in with all the animals and you could scoop poop. Woo-hoo! So it's a lot of fun. And I remember we had this cheerleading group and I thought, oh, this is going to go over well. And they were so funny. Some of them were like, ew, at first, but you're using a rake. You're not using your hands. And it's not like dog or cat doo-doo. It's, horse and cow poopy is much nicer. It's more like dirt, but it's good for your psyche. It's good for your soul. And when you see those animals and you're feeding or watering them, it brings joy to your heart, even for these animals. So you're helping them, but they're also helping you. Absolutely. So I would say about 200, through the year, but then about 20 cores that are here almost every day.
You were ranked as one of the top 10 places to visit in the state of New Jersey.
Yes, we were in all of New Jersey. I know.
Great.
So exciting.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I know when I came down years ago, my GPS, it wasn't, but GPS is okay now for people?
GPS is still not good in your car. GPS in your phone works like a pro.
Okay.
The house should be down the street 1.5 miles.
Okay.
And it takes you there if you use your car.
Okay.
If you use your cell phone, you can put in Funny Farm or the address, it brings you right here. But you need your cell phone.
Right. Good to know. So another quick question. If somebody came to you and they wanted to start their own rescue farm, what kind of advice would you give them? Start
slowly.
Okay.
You can get overwhelmed very quickly. So, make sure you have funds, because there's always unexpected costs. And it's even like getting an animal. Remember, there's vet care. It's not all, fun and games. There's a lot of work involved, and vet care. If somebody gets sick, you have to go to the vet, or the vet has to come to you. It's a lot of time, and you can get compassion fatigue, and you just have to really, like I said, make sure you go slowly. Like when we did the 35, it was fine, and even up to 200. But now, like after I got to a certain point, it was like, well, what's one more? And there were times where I was overwhelmed, and thank goodness I had helpers, or I would reach out, somebody come, please help me today. And then people would respond, but I had the support by that point. So you have to build up to that.
Got to build up to that.
Yes.
If somebody came to you and said, this is, there's an emu, I don't know, can we adopt it from you? Do you do that?
There are, yes, we adopt out a lot of animals, not all of them. Some of them, the mega esophagus dogs, right. A lot of them are disabilities. A lot of the animals we bring in have problems. We have some biter dogs. We have cats that pee all over the place. Of course, they're not going to get adopted out. There are some that are bonded pairs that can't, but we've adopted out horses, goats, sheep, ducks, chickens, geese.
Okay.
Not so much the emu. The emu, the one emu I have grew up in my house. So he's bonded here big time with everybody. He eats out of my hand. He would not probably do well going to a new home. But a lot of the animals, cats and dogs, we've adopted 28 dogs out over COVID, and they didn't come here. I had a girl helping place dogs through the Funny Farm, and she just moved. So sad to say, we're not placing dogs right now until we find another volunteer.
Okay. Next up, you've written you've written 3 anti-bullying
books,
yeah.
Right? So my social media director, Matt Reeves, wrote the books. They're true stories of the Funny Farm animals. I helped him and did the photography, layout, and design, and then Artsy Graphics published them. So we were self-published. So when we sell them, all the proceeds 100% goes to the animals. But we wrote about Chucky, the mega esophagus dog. That was the first one. And while we were writing it, he dies. So it talks about, he died and went to heaven. So it talks about death, but it talks about disabilities and how important it is. You don't know if somebody's feeling sad on the inside. If you see the dog, he looks like a normal dog, but it turns out he has this disability. So you should always be kind to one another. Then we have Farley, the Funny Farm dog. And it talks about all of these different species that get along here at the Funny Farm, because that's how I started at my mom's house. They all lived together in our house. So I knew they could all get along. So I applied that here when I came here. Although I had enclosures, for the most part, they all just hang out together. And I said, people can learn a lot from these animals, that if all these different species can get along, so can you. So we teach that to children.
Wow, that's great.
And then the third one is Adele the Diva chicken. And did you ever hear about, kids, am I a boy? Am I a girl? Am I black? Am I white? Am I brown? Am I purple? we say, who cares? Don't worry about labeling yourself. Just be the best you that you can be. We
Right.
are all unique. So just remember, there's only one you. So just do you.
That's great.
And that's it. So, you know, they all have messages of anti-bullying because especially with social media these days, it astounds me how kids, what they have to endure. And if we can help anybody, you
That's
know,
great.
even one child, we're happy. And we do go around to schools for free, and we bring some of the animals and put the chicken on the back of a dog. And we have a blind baby sheep, the one that lives in my house. He hangs out with the dogs there. And, you know, people are amazed when they see these animal interactions and how they can get along, where normally a dog would eat a chicken or bite a sheep. And here they are, best buddies.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. You're open all year long for people to come down, you know.
Yes, the entire year. A lot of sanctuaries close come
Right.
winter. I say the animals still need to see you and still need pets and hugs and kisses. And I have an emu, I mean a llama, and Lorenzo the llama. If you put the food behind your back and put your face out, he'll give you a kiss. He doesn't really want to be touched, but he'll give you a smooch. So people come from all over to see that. I mean, he's amazing. And this was an animal that wouldn't even come to people when we first got him. So it's just so much fun, you know, to see. So we want to do it all year long, and you can buy snacks in our store and go feed the animals too. It's a lot of fun.
And you can get this there.
And you can get different shirts. Yes, we have Funny Farm Fugitive, so it's a play on the words, like I escaped from the funny farm.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then we also have ones that just say, you know, has a pig on it, our pig logo, because we have a lot of pigs. So we didn't want to make sure we weren't like a dog cat place, which we do dogs and cats, but we're more farm animals.
So winding down, a completely off topic question, completely off topic. You don't have to answer it. It's kind of a cute question. But anyway, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Somebody that I would like to spend a day with.
Yeah. Excluding family, friends, living, dead, but you can.
Oh well, if it's anybody, my mom.
Yes, I know that.
Absolutely. I didn't know where you're going with that. I mean, if I could.
I know that, but excluding your mom,
excluding my mom. You know, I have other family members. I would love my grandmother to see it too. You know, it's like, so you're thinking like Bon Jovi or somebody like that. He could come and play a nice concert for the animals of the farm. That would be fine.
That'd be great.
Do you know? Go ahead.
I'm right down the road from John Stewart.
Oh, John Stewart. Yes.
Literally right down the road.
From their farm sanctuary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, literally.
They don't have as many animals. They have nothing. I mean, I have so many animals. They don't have that many.
No, of course not. It's just whatever it is, it is. But
yeah, that's okay. They're still helping. Every little bit helps.
There's a lot of animals that you bet. It's
every little bit. And you know what? Let me tell you, they're bringing a lot of awareness to animal rescues. Yeah. You know, they made it like popular. Do you know how many people say, oh, do you know what you're living my dream? And the funny thing is I laugh and say, it was never my dream. Well, at least I didn't know it was my dream until now that it is. I always say life happens when you're busy making plans. So whatever life throws at you, you better catch it and run with it, because it could be your destiny.
Last question. Laurie, by the way, we could talk for hours.
We could talk all night. You and I are both talkers, you know.
Yeah, we could talk for hours and hours. And I thank George. I always have to thank George.
Yes.
And because he's been a special part of my life, as you have been for such a long time. And I always thank George for being energizing me and kind of getting me to come down originally. But with everything you do, you know, the artsy graphics and with everything you do you have any free time at all during the day? Absolutely not. Everybody says, when do you sleep? And I said, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It won't be long now. I'm really tired. Great answer. So, Laurie, thank you so much for this, because I know, you know, you just came from work and stuff, and I cannot begin to, and you know, listen, I just finished writing my novel, and this is such a wonderful read. It just is. It was in New Jersey magazine today. You didn't even know that. And I didn't. Calvin told me. I didn't even know. I kept saying I knew that they had interviewed, but I haven't seen it. And New Jersey magazine today. And for people besides people, and again, you're going to be on CBS Sunday Morning on the
Yep.
next week or 2 or 3, whatever, with Leslie Stahl. This is the Star Ledger. It's a North Jersey newspaper. There you are, Laurie.
Awesome.
And I'll mail this actually to you. I'll get
So sweet.
but anyway, thank you. Thank you for making my day. Thank you for reinvigorating my faith in people and animals,
Aw.
and it's been just a wonderful time that I've known you, and I can't thank you enough, Laurie Zaleski.
Thank you,
you're-
Calvin Schwartz, for
you.
having me. And
Thank
it's
you.
been so great. Keep it. So we were reintroduced to each other, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we connected.
Yeah,
all those
and
years.
at some point, you know, I have an 11-month-old granddaughter.
Really?
I'll keep you posted. We're gonna come down to the funny farm.
Awesome. That'd be great. We'll love to see you. Don't
Yes.
wear your best shoes.
Yes. So
Oh,
thank
one
you.
more thing.
Yes.
The only thing that you have to do, if anybody wants to come and visit, we're open Tuesdays and Sundays from 8 to 4. You have to sign a waiver before
Right.
you come because the animals are loose. So it's on our website, funnyfarmrescue.org. Top of the page, it'll say visit waiver form. Fill that out, hit submit. You don't have to print anything. You only do it once.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Laurie, thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you,
Laurie.
Calvin. I love you.
You be
Take
well.
care, guys.